Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 9, printed in Part B of House Report number 114-290, offered by Ms. Jackson Lee of Texas.
Pursuant to House Resolution 466, the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Texas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me thank Mr. Pallone and Mr. Barton for their courtesies, and as well the Rules Committee. Let me first of all say that there's been a lot of discussion on the floor of the House regarding this bill and different opinions, and might I add that this is an important and vigorous discussion. I think this is the best of what this Congress is all about. But I'd like to take note of HR702, which many of us know came about because of the gas crisis in the 1970s. And this bill simply repeals that portion of the legislation that responded to that crisis. But what I like in the bill is, of course, they have in the bill that we as a Congress will get a report some 120 days after dealing with the maintenance and the strength of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's a very important national security item. A savings clause indicates, of course, that the President has all of his powers in the light of crisis and other issues to implement any necessary changes or any necessary restrictions on this legislation. My amendment tracks giving more information. Not later than 10 years after the date of enactment of this act, the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of Commerce shall jointly transmit to Congress a report that reviews the impact of lifting oil import ban under this act as relates to promoting and supporting and providing for the United States energy and national security policy. Our number one responsibility are the American people. I understand that, both environmentally, with respect to their own energy resources, and certainly with national security. This amendment allows for that report to be on the front side of 10 years. It could be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and the Congress can dictate that. U.S. crude production bottomed in 2008 at about 7 million barrels per day. It is now more than 11 million barrels a day, and it's now possible to go up to 18 million barrels a day in 2040 under the strictest environmental concerns. But right now in my district, they're laying off thousands of people because there is no work. And so I would argue to my colleagues that this amendment provides the insight on what's going on. This bill could provide the GDP would rise by $550 billion to $1.8 trillion between 2015 and 2039. It is estimated in my own congressional job, lifting the ban would generate an additional 500 jobs, an additional $270 million in the local economy, and increase in government revenues in $227 million. This 10-year period under that, by the way, it is up to 10 years, gives a long enough time to provide a probative, intelligent assessment of whether there is an irreversible damage. Amendment number 9 operates as a safety valve and reassures that those who may be skeptical of lifting the export ban get reasonable opportunities to oppose it or get the right information. And the same thing with those who may support it. It gives us a basis of empirical data rigorously analyzed. My amendment can be summed up as follows. For those who are confident of the future, my amendment offers vindication. For those who are skeptical of the new change, my amendment will provide the evidence they need to prove their case. I ask my colleagues, and I reserve my time, to support the Jackson Lee amendment.
Gentlelady reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Gentlemen, I would rise in mild opposition, which could turn to support.
Gentleman is recognized.
I want to thank the gentlelady from Houston for offering it. Is she willing to do this on a voice vote and consider voting for the bill if we accept it?
Will the gentleman yield?
I'd be happy to.
Is the gentleman rising to support the gentlelady's amendment with great enthusiasm?
I will, if you vote for the bill and do a voice vote on your amendment.
And would the gentleman...
I'll make it a package deal. I'll give you this amendment and the next amendment, double enthusiasm if they're both voice votes and you actually really do vote for the bill, or at least start thinking about it strongly.
That's a very good... would the gentleman yield again, please?
Yes, sure.
Would the gentleman surmise that amendments that are passed by voice vote are still strong amendments included in the bill,
yes,
as opposed to being susceptible to being gotten rid of?
No, we're not going to... You got my word. I'll be on the conference committee if we have one. Your amendments will be in the conference report that goes to the President if we get that far.
Mr. Chairman, I am always eager to work with my friends on this side of the aisle, Mr. Pallone. I'm always eager to work when we're moving forward. And so I would offer my amendment and offer it for a voice vote.
Thank you. Thank you. And
With that, I yield.
rise and as I just said I would, double enthusiastic support of our amendment. But I'm going to be looking on that board when it comes time to vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Back.
Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Chairman, let me just simply say my amendment answers many of the concerns that have been expressed on the floor of the House by giving empirical data, not 10 years and beyond, but in a period up to 10 years, to let us make further informative decisions to provide for the energy resources of the American people, the national resources, and of course, being able to provide for the national security. With that, I ask for support of the Jackson Lee amendment. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The questions on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Texas. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. It is now in order to consider amendment number 10, printed in Part B of House Report 114-290. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 10, printed in Part B of House Report number 114-290, offered by Ms. Jackson Lee of Texas.
Pursuant to House Resolution 466, the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. Chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Texas.
I thank the gentleman very much, and I ask that my amendment be considered by my colleagues. My amendment requires that within 180 days of enactment, the Secretaries of Energy and Commerce submit a report to Congress analyzing how lifting the ban on crude oil, in particular exports, will create opportunities for veterans and women. Mr. Chairman, just a few days ago, I went to an initiative called Stand Down. I've gone on a number of years, and that's where most military persons will understand. It is where you come and stand down from battle. In this instance, they were veterans, many of them homeless, many of them in great need. Obviously, social services, substance abuse services, and others were offered there. But what I heard from these men who wore the uniform in dignity is they want jobs. I believe that this legislation will provide a strong pro-jobs agenda, growing the economy. As my previous amendment said, I do not take lightly the impact of lifting the ban, and therefore my previous amendment would provide the insight on whether or not this is a positive impact. But I can tell you that there is a great need, as been discussed earlier, about collaborating with historically black colleges and Hispanic serving colleges, and I've worked on those issues, and I've certainly seen the leadership of Mr. Rush and Mr. Cuellar. But I will tell you that it is indicated that state shale development supports American jobs. $107,000 is the average salary that is given provided by the energy company in energy jobs. 1.7 million employment attributed to upstream unconventional oil and natural gas. Women fill 40% of the vacancies in oil and gas, and I'd like unanimous consent to submit this into the record.
It will be covered by general leave.
Thank you. The government, the administration is working to pair up and find jobs for veterans. Unemployment rate for veterans, we've seen, has been a constant issue, and it is going down, but we need to provide them with other opportunities. They were higher unemployment, as we can see, than the regular workforce. So my amendment wants to ensure that if we lift this ban, women and veterans will benefit. And we know, of course, that we've been pushing our educational facilities to engage in STEM, but what we need now is jobs, a pipeline for qualified veterans and women looking for jobs right now. I'd ask my colleagues to support the Jackson Lee amendment. It causes us to focus on these vulnerable populations, women, veterans, to direct them into the industry. And might I say to my constituents, energy companies that I represent, a long list of names that I will not name at this time, that we hope that they are focused as well on expanding opportunities in the energy industry for veterans, returning soldiers, if you will, women, and of course, across the board, minorities. This is an industry that is moving and growing, and the opportunities should move and grow as well. With that, I ask my colleagues to support the Jackson Lee amendment. I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
I rise in opposition only to say we support the amendment and we'll honor the deal we just made on the prior amendment. I ask for a yes vote on the voice vote on the amendment.
Reserve. Does the gentleman yield back?
Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentlewoman from Texas.
Thank the gentleman. I thank Mr. Pallone, and I hope that our colleagues have heard us to emphasize the creation of jobs along with the environment, national security, and the energy resources of America. With that, I ask for support of the Jackson-Lee Amendment and yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The questions on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Texas. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.